3 bottles of Glen Scotia, 3 different price points, but which one should you buy? Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, today I'm taking a look at these 3 different bottles from Glen Scotia to try and work out at which price point they are most worth it. Now, to be honest with you, I've bought quite a lot of Glen Scotia over the last couple of years and admittedly have drank almost none of it, and that's kind of one of the reasons I wanted to do this video because, well, let's be honest, they are from Campbeltown, which is its own very distinct style of whiskey, but, and I'm guilty of this too, are often overlooked in favour of Springbank and some of their other brands. So they do sit a bit on the back foot. I think part of the problem, or the reason for that, is because of this whiskey right here. This is Glen Scotia's Campbeltown Harbour. Now, this is available in UK supermarkets at a pretty low price. Now, running through the prices of these based on what Glen Scotia charge for them, like if you bought directly from them, Campbeltown Harbour comes in at £37 a bottle. This is the Campbeltown Malts Festival. This happens to be the 2023 version, but the 2024 is out now. They're aged for the same amount of time. Should be pretty similar. This one, £65 a bottle straight from Glen Scotia. And then this, finally, the big one, is a distillery exclusive cask strength finished in a bourbon barrel at £85. However, that isn't really the full picture, because this Campbeltown Harbour bottle, despite being £37 directly, is 25 quid a bottle in pretty much every UK supermarket. So it is, well, quite literally bottom of the barrel when it comes to Scotch pricing. The Campbeltown Malts Festival, though, is pretty honest. They say it's 65 quid. It's 65 quid or 64.99 almost everywhere, and the very cheapest I could find it was £62.50. So that one really is on the money. On the flip side, though, the special edition, the distillery exclusive, it is 85 quid. I paid 85 quid. I went to the distillery and paid that for it. However, because it's a distillery exclusive, it adds rarity to it. It's also cask strength, which adds some rarity to it. But if you wanted to go on the internet right now and buy one of these, the cheapest I can find it for is £149.95. So, yeah, it's a bit pricey. Now, of course, anyone in their right mind would say, I spent 85 quid on this bottle, it's now worth 150, I'm just going to sell it. But no, because otherwise we won't be able to do this test. So we are going to open it, and in fact, the Campbeltown Malts Festival bottle here today. So let's get pouring and find out which one is really worth it. So first up is the Campbeltown Harbour, the supermarket by 40% ABV, 80 proof on the nose. On the back, it has got a little descriptor, I think it says on the front as well. It tastes like sea spray and gentle smoke. I have included this in a video in the past, I believe, but it's the only one that I have. And yeah, it should be, well, as you can tell, the bottle is fairly empty. I do enjoy it, but I quite often have a dram and then go, maybe there's something better on offer, which, well, looking at the shelf behind me, there is. But you get the idea, you know, when you just want a basic, simple dram, it is pretty good in my experience. Now then, Campbeltown Malts, we are up in the game. It is 54.7%, 11 years old. 54.7% is 109.4 proof, I think, for American listeners, if you're interested. But yeah, they make this every year for the Campbeltown Whisky Festival, of course, of which they take part because they are in Campbeltown. I say this is last year's. There is a new one available, same price, but this one might be a little bit harder to find now. But I say I have tried previous years, and whilst they do differ because they are made specifically year on year, it's not a continual batch thing, they are reasonably similar to the point that this review will make some sense if you try this year's. One thing though I don't like Glen Scotia for, the little caps they put on these. You see the little kind of thumb thing to open them? I can never get in these damn things, so bear with me. And then finally, the distillery exclusive. I'll let you have a look at that one because this is, as I say, a little bit harder to find, but all the info on there. This was distilled in 2015. It's 8 years old. 58.8%, so a few notches up from the Campbeltown Malts Festival one. The math on these ones is really difficult for proof. 58 times 2 is 116, but it's 117.6 proof. So, first fill, bourbon barrel, there were 194 bottles in total. So now I feel bad about opening this, but we're going to do it anyway. Right then, all three in the glasses, and to be honest, they are all looking pretty similar. The base version, the supermarket job, is a nice, just very middle of the road, light gold colour, as you would expect from a Scotch. Interestingly though, the Campbeltown Malts Festival, despite being the cheaper and the lower ABV compared to the two more premium ones, is actually a touch darker, so I assume there's some kind of port or sherry barrel influence on that, but just a nice, richer colour. And then, given that it's the bourbon barrel, you would think a lot of colour came from this distillery exclusive, but in fact, no, it's pretty light coloured, but all look good enough. Very similar, and that probably helps establishing somewhat with a product line, but yeah, very nice indeed. Does it say actually on this Campbeltown Malts? It does say on the bottle it's lightly peated white port cask finish. So, well, I would have thought white port wouldn't add much colour, but anyway, here we are. So then, on the nose, the cheap option. Light smoke, as they say, quite sweet. I'm really not getting heaps of that sea salt, sea spray thing that they go on about. It will be in the flavour because I do know this whiskey quite well, but it's really not all of that on the aroma. There's this distinct kind of vanilla marshmallowy sweetness to this on the aroma. And that's something that's developed since the bottle has been opened, so that is something to consider. This has breathed for a lot longer than the other two because they are fresh opens, but it is what it is. Right then, Campbeltown Malts Festival. This I have sampled upon purchasing over a year ago. So yeah, it's been a while. I can't really remember it. Much deeper, slightly pokier, as you would expect. The ethanol is hitting my nose a bit, but it's a fresh open, so that will die down. It is a lot higher ABV as well. Still a little bit sweet, but definitely nowhere near as much as the budget option. Mid-price point. It's kind of got this kind of pear drop style sweetness to it. More peaty, more rich, proper. It's like fiery smoke rather than that really astringent peat smoke. It's yeah, bringing definitely some sweetness from that white port cask finish, but it comes across very fresh, very green, very, yeah. It's green fruits and smoke, basically, is what's going on in there. And then onto the big one, the distillery exclusive, premium end, first fill, bourbon cask finish. First fill, by the way, means that it's the first fill since bourbon was in it, not the first fill of the barrel. But, so yeah, it should get quite a bit of bourbon influence, you would think. Okay, not as much as I thought, but what is there? Nice, oaky, slightly, almost walnutty vibe to it. It's definitely a pitch up on the darker tones, this one, and there's definitely a bit more of a caramelly edge to it, as you would expect with the bourbon cask finish, but it's also got this kind of semi-savoury, peanutty, pecan kind of thing going on. Be fascinated to know whose bourbon it was before they got their hands on it, because yeah, it's got a nice nutty finish to it. But yeah, very nice indeed. In terms of aroma, I'm not going to lie, the budget one is far the sweetest, but actually in comparison now it seems almost too sweet, but that's what comparisons do. The middle of the road, the Campbeltown Malts Festival, feels the most Campbeltown. Probably not a surprise there, but that white port barrel is just giving a bit of sweetness. It's not overriding it too much. It's got that distinct Campbeltown funk. For those that don't know what Campbeltown funk is, it's a bit of an enigma. Most Campbeltown whiskies have this odd, damp, slightly dank, vegetal, farmyardy vibe about it. Talking about it all the time on Springbank's products, and there's definitely a decent host of it in there. And then, as I say, the top tier here, definitely more bourbon inspired now. They've had a chance to open up a bit, and my preference is roughly in order, to be honest. The bourbon one is giving me the best all-round experience. I can't deny that that mid-price point is undoubtedly the most Campbeltown-like of the lot, and I'm sorry, but actually now it's just a bit too sweet and not enough character from the region for me on that entry level one. So probably not a massive surprise there, but let's see how they taste, and we will start at the budget end. So, cheers. It is sweet, a bit vanilla-y, giving me a bit of kind of like fruit crumble vibes off that one. It's very light smoke, very light peat. It is there, you can appreciate it. If you're not into heavily peated whiskey, don't worry, it works. It does feel like it's just missing some flavours though, like it washes out really easily. It's got some of that salinity, some of that salty profile, but not enough. Not what I want from a coastal distillery like Glen Scotia. I want to be slapped round the face with a sea breeze. And the best thing I can say about this, and I've said it a few times in the past, is it's just inoffensive. It's nice. It's verging on really good, but just maybe lacking in the real interest space. And to be honest, it's a budget bottle, so it's probably not a massive surprise. Okay, Campbeltown Malts Festival Edition 2023. Cheers. Whoa. Wow, it's not until you start putting things side by side, and I've said it many times before, you realise just how big the differences are. That is massively punchy, huge amounts of flavour in there. To be honest, it took me by surprise a bit on the first sip. I didn't really get a chance to analyse and think about what I was experiencing other than, well, yeah, a whole heap of Campbeltown goodness. It is still actually super sweet. It's not noticeably decreased or more savoury, even though it was on the aroma, compared to the budget entry. Loads of sweetness in there, but it is more green, it is more natural. It's green apples, pears, that kind of thing. It's got a solid bit of peat smoke in there, but it's still approachable, I think. I'm not the biggest peat lover, and I'm still like, you know what? I could definitely get into this. I mean, it is the reason that I bought a bottle of it. It's got this really just, well, it's more like a peppering of those Campbeltown distinct notes. It's the damp, wet blanket in a sheep barn thing, but it's just kind of sprinkled around the outside of it. It's there, you can find it, you can appreciate it, but it's not going to blast out everything else. It is a solid, near barrel strength, or maybe even by his barrel strength, it's just a lower proof point. But, you know, Scotch whisky, loads of fruity notes, loads of just nice atmospheric vibes, you know. This one is less salinity, again, compared to the first one, interestingly, and it just has this gorgeous kind of meadow come forest feel to it that I really am enjoying, to be honest. It definitely is an easier Campbeltown malt to get into than some of the others. Some of the abrasiveness, some of the oddities that you find in the region are less concentrated in this. Might be a really good entry point if you feel like you're not really all the way down here, but maybe aren't quite ready for the full Campbeltown experience. And then it is on to the dram that I probably shouldn't have poured and made a few quid on the bottle of, but that's not what we're doing here. We're here to inform and educate, and well, it's a good job we're not here to make money, let me put it that way. So let us give this a go. I'm going to go for the aroma just one more time. Oh, that has definitely sparked up again. Starting to get a few fruity notes in there now, but actually this is reminding me, weirdly, of Wild Turkey's rare breed. But anyway, let's give it a go. Cheers. That is a completely different beast. It's very much more down the middle of the road whiskey. It's lost a whole host of those Campbeltown default notes. It's definitely bourbon inspired. Loads of oakiness in there. It's weirdly drying, actually, is one thing I will say, and it's actually a little bit of a dram of two halves. What I'm realising now, as I take a few more sips, is when you first take a sip of this, and once you've got over the initial kind of palate shock that it can cause because it is a higher proof, you realise that when it's in the mouth, when it's on the front of your tongue, you get this juiciness, this real, almost, it makes you salivate. It really does, and it's a bit fruity. It's a bit grassy, a bit citrusy perhaps, and it's got just a nod, a tip of the hat to that Campbeltown funk thing. But the second half, the aftertaste, the back of the tongue, it just clears all that away, and you are left with this distinctly American feel to the end of it, which is no surprise. It is a bourbon barrel. It's not as nutty as the aroma would leave you to believe, but big, dry oak tannins. It's, well, to be honest with you, it's actually pretty tongue numbing. I'm struggling to pick out more flavours in this now, having had a few sips. But it's very nice, and it's very unique, I think it's fair to say. I don't have any whiskey on my shelf that would match that profile or come even close to it. I've got plenty of bourbon barrel-aged Scotch whiskies, and yeah, that one does seem distinctly unique. But which one is really worth it? And before I decide, let's just skip back through real quick. Okay, if you were at the distillery and had the option to buy this top end for 85 quid, it's a bit of a no-brainer. It is, in terms of quality, that and more. However, on a base fairing, when you can actually, you know, for the prices you can actually buy each of these for, even at 25 quid, and as easy and as approachable as it is, I wouldn't tell you not to buy this, but it's just a bit bland. I don't know. I'm not sure there's anything else out there at 25 quid that I would say is better even, but it's just, yeah, not really there if you're already well in on your whiskey journey. And as you may have deduced, the Campbeltown Malts Festival is the one that's the most bang for the buck. It's £62.50 to 65 quid, regardless of where you buy it. And yeah, it's 11 years old. That white port cask finish is just a beautiful addition to those already interesting Campbeltown flavours. And you know what? Yeah, I'm kind of regretting not opening that sooner, and I might have to go and find a bottle of the 2024 because, don't get me wrong, I do prefer the bourbon. I do prefer the top end. But for the price difference and the availability difference, it's just a no-brainer. Campbeltown Malts Festival takes it hands down. So that is the conclusion. Have you tried any three of these? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think. And are there any other three whiskies out there in the world from Glen Scotia, from the I said Springbank area, from the Campbeltown area in general, or further afield that you would like me to pitch head to head? Let me know in the comments, please. But yeah, that really is everything. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it. If you haven't already, subscribe if you will be so kind, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.